Ladies and gentlemen, I'm hoping this will be a very interactive session. So, but we do still need to keep it in a very orderly manner because there are 100 of us or so online. So if you do have questions, please raise hands and we'll do our best to make sure we get to you and address any questions, comments, or concerns you may have on a timely basis. I presume that the presenters are going to want to present fully and then take questions afterwards. So if you'd just be kind enough to make notes, and then we'll take hands afterwards, unless the presenter says otherwise. But without further ado, I've been told that the investor is a Mr. Leon Scott. I know that name from somewhere. I guess we'll know a lot more about him before the evening is over. So without further ado, I'll turn over to the lady, the one, the only, Mrs. Marlene Street Forest. Marlene?
Hi, Robin. Thank you very much, Robin. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank you for attending the JSE Group Investor webinar. We will be sharing this evening with you on the JSE Direct Market Access. Robin has already welcomed our presenters, and I will continue with that welcome by also welcoming the members of the media and every participant here this evening. Let me express my appreciation to you for being here, for making the choice for being here this evening. You know, we appreciate that your time is valuable. You're pressed with all sorts of things. And so your presence here confirms to us that you are interested in knowing more about how we can partner with you on this really new initiative of the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And with that, increasing your wealth by providing you with, you know, another option in which to invest, through which to invest. It is therefore my pleasure to welcome you to the webinar, where we can provide you with more information on how you can benefit from global markets and invest with confidence. And you notice I will underscore the word confidence, which is what the stock exchange brings to the table. You may ask yourself a question that whether this webinar will tell you that all roads now lead to the Canadian market, which is our first market for the operation of the DMA. But that is not the case as yet. What we are pleased to say is that since the launch of the platform in July 2022, which currently allows brokers to trade on the Canadian stock markets via foreign brokers, QMAX, we really want to thank them and Barita for taking up this challenge to be the first in line to offer this service to our investors. And since then, 124 accounts have been created, and there has been 53 securities that are traded. And I really want to say again, 53. And this is a great start, really an excellent start, because hardly anything that we have at the stock exchange, even though you see it as being very big now and you know, have contributed to your wealth, start as big as this. So with 2 brokers and 53 securities and 124 accounts, that's large. This evening, the objective is for you to know more about the platform, its features, and the benefit it offers investors. While this will unfold through the various presentations, it is important for me to underscore that platforms such as the DMA platform and opportunities that the stock exchange group provide year after year are developed with the highest standard of quality and care, and with you in mind. As we understand that money is generally scarce, not all of us have it. It's a scarce commodity which must be properly and carefully utilized. At this evening's webinar, it will be revealed how powerful the platform can be in your wealth creation journey, as it is designed for you to reach through your brokers, markets within CARICOM and across the globe, allowing you to diversify your portfolio with different types of securities. We not change our model of providing value to you. Prior to the recent events of fraud, and I have to go there, that have rocked the country and have reduced and in some instances erased the confidence in the financial sector, the JSE Group, with its trusted consultant, was quietly but busily developing the DMA platform designed to improve the confidence of retail clients, that's the investors who wish to diversify their portfolio with global securities. We had 5 core objectives, which we felt would be important to the market. 1, to replicate a model that was tried, tested, and proven, and that's a JSE coupling for safety of trading and settlement. 2, to increase efficiency in the access to and purchasing of foreign securities through our brokers. 3, to enable investors to maintain visibility of their securities purchase. And you know that this is important even now more than ever. 4, to allow the JSE to act as the independent entity for the confirmation of investors' holdings. And 5, to increase the interest of investors in the stock market as a whole. Right here, I must say to you, we are encouraging more persons to participate in the stock market and in stock markets generally. And the time is right. This DMA platform has met all these requirements and more. This is our way of providing a safe, efficient, and transparent mechanism for secondary market trading in securities worldwide. We have proven for nearly 55 years that we can bring efficiency and value to the market. We believe that by signaling to you this evening that we are open for this business, and that's the business of the DMA, that as you think through your options for investing, you will remember that you can partner with us to achieve the benefits of having greater liquidity for any class of shares or bonds or other securities you might think of investing in, a means to achieve a more attractive portfolio of investments, which can provide you with even hedging mechanism, an avenue for tapping into markets which would previously be difficult to access, and more importantly, an access to information on your portfolio at the click of a button through again our recently launched client portal. By providing you through our various presenters this evening information on the DMA, that's the Direct Market Access, we are proactively responding to the needs of the market and leveraging on our current infrastructure for you to increase your wealth. Our solid market access platform includes required functionalities, and you'll hear more about them this evening, that meet international best practices. We are also leveraging our international competence, and it is really our internal competencies, because that is really what we do. We have developed internal competencies to serve you effectively. We are also providing you with more options and wish to assure you that the JSE Group is more than a local equities market. And through the DMA, we intend to be recognized as the most efficient conduit for investors to access securities globally. Once again, we welcome you to the JSE Direct Market Access platform webinar, and I hope you will continue to enjoy the benefits of this market and to enjoy what we have for you for future, which is the DMA, and lastly, continue to enjoy this evening's program. Thank you.
Thank you, Marlene, for that warm welcome, and also giving us a little foretaste of what is to come. I'm not sure if anybody would have a question for you at this stage. So I think we'll just go right ahead and go into the power of direct market, market access platform. I'm not sure what that means. Can a platform really be powerful, or is it really just a base on which you build? I don't know. Let's find out a little bit more. Mrs. Cadilla McNaught Hermit has been with the JCSD for several years, more than 10 years. I should know, I worked with her for many of those years. She is the manager of the Registrar of Services and Depository Unit and has been playing a vital role in the direct market access platform. So Cadil, over to you to tell us a little bit more about what it is you do and what it is that the stock exchange offers. Cadil?
Robin, good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy to be sharing with you this afternoon on the power of the JSE's Direct Market Access platform. So, first of all, I'm going to tell you what the JSE's Direct Market Access platform is. Now, this platform provides access to electronic facilities and order books of financial market exchanges that facilitate daily securities transactions. Now, simply put, all I'm saying is that it gives access to investors through their local brokers that amount of access. It allows investors through their local brokers access to stock exchanges in other jurisdictions. Now, in this first version of the platform, investors can trade Canadian securities. So what we have done, we have an arrangement with a Canadian broker so that our DMA platform speaks to their electronic platform, and so trading is seamless. And we're hoping to be opening up to the US market in very short order. Now, our platform also allows investors to monitor their portfolio, and you can generate and view your statements from the JCSD portal. Now, who are the participating brokers? And Dr. Forrest told you about them. So we have two currently, and they are QMax Wealth Management Limited and Barita Investments Limited. And we are in discussions with other brokers who will be onboarded to the platform soon. Why the JSE DMA platform now? Well, first of all, because it will allow you to diversify your portfolio. We know that we can't put all our eggs in one basket. So what the JSE DMA platform allows is access to foreign markets, stock markets, so that you can have the diversity that you crave. So when I say diversity, I mean diversity in terms of types of securities, not just equities, but bonds, you have ETFs, all sorts of other equity, all sorts of other securities. Diversity in terms of industry. So now you might be limited to certain industries. You have other industries, you have gold, you have mining, you have all sorts of other industries. We mean diversity in terms of currency. So not just Jamaican securities, US securities, Canadian securities, and when we move into other markets, you'll have access to other types of securities. And now when you have that diversity of portfolio, then you are able to get high rates of return on your investments. Now, I would just want to have you look at a graph that we have done. So on our next slide, you'll see a graph that we have done that shows the percentage change in securities, the percentage change in prices in securities since we launched the DMA platform in July. So we just picked up a few because, as Dr. Forrest had said earlier, we are trading 53 securities right now. So I just picked up a few just to show you what the change in prices have been. And what you'll see, let's look at Ivanhoe Mines Limited. You'll see that there has been a positive percentage change, 79% change as a matter of fact, in that price since July. So if you had purchased Ivanhoe in July, of course, your portfolio would be much better. You'd have received, you'd be experiencing positive returns on your securities. If you look at B2 Gold, we see there a 31% increase in the price, or percentage change in price. You look at Osiko Gold royalties, you'll see that there was also a 75.7% increase in the price, change in the price for that stock. But of course, in any stock market, and I don't want you to believe that the changes are only, positive. You also have those where the prices went down. And just to be fair, I am showing you a few as well. So you'll see that you'll have Smart Centers Real Estate Investment Trust, which there was a 3% decrease. You have Canacol Energy, where there was a 12.66% decrease, and you have others. But the point I'm trying to make is that by diversifying your portfolio, you can see great returns on your investment. So let's look at the other reason why you should try our DMA platform, which is transparency. Now, the DMA will provide transparency for investors who will now be able to independently verify their portfolio balances of foreign securities. We have that at the Jamaica Stock Exchange in terms of those securities that are traded on the JSE. You can go to your JCSD account, you can view your statements online, you can call the JCSD to get your statements. But with the foreign securities, as is right now, you have to depend on your broker to tell you what they have purchased on your behalf. Now, with the DMA platform, what we are providing is an independent way to verify your holdings. So you can actually go onto our JCSD portal, and you can generate your own statements, and you can use that to compare what your broker is saying. So that, we believe, is an excellent reason why you should choose to invest through our DMA platform. Then you have the enhanced ease and efficiency of the platform. And right now, it's the brokers who are experiencing that. So QMax will tell you about that, and Barita will tell you about that, because prior to using our platform, what you'd have to do, you'd have to call your broker, put through your order. But with our platform, you just go, once you get the order from the client, the brokers just go to their desk, log on to our DMA platform, they put through the order, it speaks to the foreign brokers electronic trading platform, the order goes through seamlessly, you get your messages, and you can just do your trading without engaging any broker directly, and you can actually see what is happening because the messages are coming back to you. Now, let me tell you now, I've told you of the benefits of using the platform. So you may want to know, how does the DMA platform work? So I'm going to just quickly take you through that process of how the DMA platform works. So it's pretty similar to what you do for your local securities. You would call your broker, and you would say to your broker, I want to invest in Jamaican securities. I want to invest on the JSE. And they would say, okay, you need to open a JCSD account, and you need to, send your funds to us, and so on. So it's pretty much the same thing. You're going to call your broker, and you're going to tell your broker, I want to open a DMA account. And the broker will open the DMA account. The broker will take the funds from you. And then once they have created the account and they have funded your account, then you tell your broker, listen, I want to buy X security. I want to buy B2 Gold, or I want to buy BlackBerry, or whatever it is that you want to buy. And the local broker would enter the order onto the DMA platform, and they would just purchase those securities. They would put through the order for those securities on the DMA platform. Now, remember, I've been saying the DMA platform speaks to an electronic platform for a broker in Canada in this particular version. So once the local broker enters the order, then it sends it directly to the overseas brokers platform and via an interface. And that platform now will send a message to our local broker or to our local DMA platform to say, listen, your message has been received. And then it sends that message to the stock exchanges in Canada. And I'm saying stock exchanges because there are multiple stock exchanges in Canada. So it sends the message out to the stock exchanges in Canada. And once there is a match, then a message is returned to the DMA platform. And so your local broker knows that those securities have traded. They also get a report to say, listen, you need to ensure that you have X amount of money in your account. But remember, as I said earlier, they would have funded the account before. So really, that's just a measure to ensure that they keep topping up on your account. Now, when it reaches to T+2, and I'm quite sure that you're familiar with that term, T+2, which means trade date plus 2 days, which is the settlement cycle that we use here in Jamaica. Canada uses, US uses, and just to let you know that they'll be changing next year to T+1. But on T+2, you know that the securities will be settled. So the broker will ensure that the funds are there and that we can settle on T+2. So on T+2, the JCSD is going to settle the trades with the broker in the Canadian Depository for Securities, CDS, which is equivalent to JCSD as you know it. So we settle those trades in CDS on T+2, and then once the trades are settled in CDS, then we also settle the trades on the DMA platform. After that, that's when we go now and represent. We show the position for each shareholder, each DMA account holder in the JCSD system so that you can generate your statements from the JCSD portal. So pretty easy, pretty simple. Nothing extra in terms of what you are used to. It's just that we have used the DMA platform to simplify the process for you, and so that you can actually see what is going on your account as it relates to foreign securities. Now, what is the roadmap for the future? Right now, as I said, we are accessing the Canadian securities. And the plan is in short order to be accessing US securities. Then we are going to be looking at other areas. So we have signed agreements with other territories like Ghana, who is interested. We are looking at UK, we are looking at Asia, we are looking at other territories in the Caribbean. So the possibilities are endless with the DMA platform. We're also looking to have what we call a return leg, where foreign investors are able to trade on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. So that is going to come quickly as well before the year ends. We are also going to be trying to integrate all the systems so that, you know, it's quite easy for the trades when it comes on to the investors, foreign investors trading on the Jamaican market, that it's quite easy. And then we're also going to be looking at, in the future, allowing investors access to the DMA platform so that you can do your own trading. So we have big plans, and as I said, the possibilities are endless for this DMA platform. So in concluding, what am I saying to you? You need to contact any of the participating brokers right now, as soon as, well, I can't say as soon as the DMA webinar is over, but by tomorrow, I want all of you to be reaching out to QMax and Barita to get your DMA accounts open so you can start on this wonderful, this game-changing initiative. I thank you, and I look forward to seeing more DMA accounts being open and hearing from you that you are experiencing the benefits that this platform can give. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kadil. If you don't mind, I'll get the ball rolling myself by asking, well, first of all, it's interesting to hear that we have seamless access to the Canadian and soon to be the US stock markets. But let me ask the question. Since the accounts I open are with a local broker here, how is my interest registered in the securities that are in Canada? That if I was to buy a stock in Canada, how would my interest in that security be affected here?
Okay, so with the foreign jurisdiction like Canada and the US, what you have is what we would call a bulk account. So the securities there are held in the participant's account. And of course, JCSD is a participant at the depository in Canada. And that is why it is so important to use this DMA platform, because on the DMA platform, the accounts are created for each individual so that we can track, even though at the depository, it is in the JCSD account at CDS, from the DMA platform, we can track and say, okay, client A purchased 20 units of BlackBerry, client B purchased X, and client C purchased Y. And then that is what now we are able to track from the DMA platform into the system, into the DEPEND system or JCSD system, so that and the clients can actually verify that yes, these are the securities that I purchased, these are the securities that I sold. So in the Canadian security depository, it is in the JCSD's name because it's a bulk system where it's a participant whose name appears on the records, but our DMA platform is tracking down to the beneficial owner level. And that's
okay.
of the platform.
So let me see if I've got it, Kadil. I go to my broker, I open an account with my broker, QMax or Barita at this stage, but other brokers to come in the future. I ask them for access to this DMA platform to open an account for it. I put in my purchase and sell orders. That actually goes through the Jamaica Stock Exchange onto the Canadian market. I buy and or sell. The position is registered in a Canadian depository in the JCSD's name. And on the JCSD's records here, you have my position registered. Is that correct?
Well, there's just one little thing that I would correct. It doesn't go through the JSE. So the DMA platform speaks directly to the overseas brokers platform.
So our brokers speak directly to brokers overseas?
Can you repeat that question, Robin?
The account I open is with my broker, yes?
Yes, with your local broker.
So my local, that access puts me straight to a Canadian broker.
Right.
As the
right.
party that's going to really transact
yes. And then
the transaction on my behalf.
Right. And then the JCSD settles in the depository and it goes into a purchase. It's in the JCSD account. And of course, then we represent it in the JCSD's platform so that you are able to generate your statement.
So I can go to my broker and get a statement with a JCSD statement saying, yes, Robin, you bought 1 million Canadian dollars worth of, I have to think bigger, 1 million Canadian dollars of whatever the stock is. And the JCSD will have that record for me.
That's correct, but you can also do it yourself by logging on to our JCSD portal and generating the statement yourself. So you don't even have to ask your local broker.
All right, great. I'm seeing some other questions online now. Is there any plan to add, this is from Michael Thompson, is there any plan to add the Trinidad or Barbados Stock Exchange to this initiative?
Well, as I said before, the possibilities are endless.
Yes, the answer is yes to that. Definitely, yes.
So, Michael, I'm hearing from Mrs. Forrest, definite. Actually, I'll bring your name definite now. I know the Jamaica Stock Exchange has been in discussions and has close relations with the Trinidad and Barbados Stock Exchange and other exchanges, actually, Bermuda and so on. And I know there has long been a move afoot to have a Caribbean footprint. So I suspect, Michael, that you'll hear more from the stock exchange in the future as they continue to build out those relationships and add other stock exchanges, including those in the Caribbean. All right. Other questions. This from David Rose. What are the fees associated with the DMA platform related to the JSE and participating brokers? Excellent question, because Khalil, you've just mentioned quite a few persons in the middle of the transaction. Could you give us an idea of what kind of fees are associated with this type of transaction?
So that would have to go to you'd have to ask your broker for those fees. We don't have a fee that the JSE gives directly to the clients. There is a fee on the Canadian Stock Exchange. They charge a per volume fee, a 2 cents per volume fee. But of course, you know, you'd have to ask your broker for the total fees as it relates to trading on the securities. And of course, QMAX will be on later, so you can talk to QMAX about that.
Okay, so we can cycle that question back to Delia later on when she presents. But what I'm hearing from you, Khalil, is that there is definitively a fee on the Canadian stock, whichever Canadian stock market that is, and soon to be the US stock market. And there'll also be a brokerage fee of some kind, maybe more than one. But we'll get some more detail on that for you later. David. David also asks, what's the major advantage of using DMA in Jamaica versus using an interactive broker with greater protections and transparency? I am not so certain, if I don't mind jumping in, Khalil, that using an interactive broker will actually give you greater protection. You'd have to actually register with that broker overseas. Not everybody has that access, and even if you do, it's really not the same. But Khalil, you want to just take that one off for me?
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing, Robin, that it's not the same thing. And I have been, you know, focusing on the transparency, the fact that you are able to independently verify your securities. Because when you use, say, an interactive through one of the local brokers, everything is registered under that particular broker's name, and then you would have to get a statement from the broker. What we are offering is that ability to independently see a statement and verify that against what your local broker is saying. So that's one. And of course, the ease, you know, the simple transition in terms of the messaging between the DMA platform and the local and the foreign brokers platform. So that, and the fact that, of course, it's an independent body, JCSD, that's holding the securities for you. So in all those areas, that's the benefits over what Interactive and other brokers are offering through local brokers.
And Khalil, if I may just add, that it goes, the information goes down, or your investment, to the beneficial shareholder level, as against at the bulk nominee level, which is the broker level, and the broker then determine what each person owns. When it is purchased through the DMA platform, it comes right down to the beneficial shareholder level.
That's correct. Thanks.
So, David, I think you're hearing the same, more or less the same thing from the three of us. The situation when you have when you have your own brokerage account with a broker overseas is that you have to take the broker's word for it. They give you a statement. It's their statement. It's not from the depository. It's their statement to say, yes, we have bought these shares for you. And believe me when I say Marlene kind of touched on it before. I'm a certified fraud examiner, by the way, or I used to be before my my CPE lapsed. That's the way in which many frauds are perpetrated. Persons tell you they have a security in their pocket for you, but they don't really have any such security. So I hope that answers your question. If not, we can always discuss it somewhere later on. Okay, Anonymous is asking, does the DMA give access to the New York Stock Exchange? The answer is not yet. Currently, it's only the Canadian Stock Exchange. US stock exchanges are being worked on. Dwayne Lindsay is asking, who determines the Caribbean overseas broker to be used by the Jamaican brokers, whether Jamaica, Barita, or QMAX, and who are the Canadian brokers currently being used?
So can you just repeat the question before? Who is the Canadian broker being used?
So it's really a two-part question, but it's the same question. Who are the Canadian brokers that are being used, and who picks them? is it my local broker who picks their corresponding broker, or do I pick them, or does the JCSD pick them? Who picks the broker? Who are these brokers that are being used now, and who determines which broker gets assigned to my account?
All right, so currently we are using, for the Canadian market, we are using CIBC Inc. for the Canadian broker. In terms of how do we determine the broker that is used? That is determined by the JSE, and we have some criteria that are set out for us to determine, which broker is being used.
So it's the one broker, CIBC.
Right.
With whom we're all familiar, of course.
Right, but I just want to also say that the platform has been designed so that there can be multiple brokers. So right now we are using one Canadian broker. The platform is designed to use multiple brokers. So even for the US market, we can use multiple brokers.
All right, Kadil. Well, if that's the case, when we do have multiple brokers, how do we determine which broker gets assigned to which account? Will I, as the client, be able to pick who I want to do my business trading on the Canadian or US market?
Right, so you can pick through your local broker when that
right.
is.
Your
So
local
I hope that answers David's question. Marlene, sorry?
Your local broker would determine that.
Yeah.
Your local broker. So I didn't think the JSE would want to pick for you. So when they come on board, David, I hope I'm answering your question. When other brokers come on board, you will have that discussion with your local broker as to who your corresponding broker in Canada or the US is going to be, or whichever other market, Trinidad, Barbados, whatever the case may be. All right. That's Dwayne Lindsay. Thank you, Dwayne, for the question. David asked another question. When will the JCSD platform allow persons to add KP REIT, ECL, and any other USD paying security to be added to a dividend mandate? Not sure this is the platform for that question. So it's like something you should take offline, David, because you are asking about dividend mandates being set up in JCSD for locally traded securities. If you don't mind, we'll just jump over that question, or maybe we'll take it at the end. Is that okay, Kadil?
Yes, we'll take that. I can answer them
offline. Okay, right. Ian, I'm not able to see Ian, but how are you doing, my brother? Ian Laidlaw is asking, what's the maximum allowable time for my local broker to have the dividends reflected in my local broker account? Also, what will be the tax treatment on such dividends?
Okay, so that again, I would have.
Sounds like another. Go on, Kadil.
I was saying that one again, I will refer to the broker when they come up.
Yeah. Again, not trying to get through the DMA here, my brother. Unless it's about international dividends being paid and how those are reflected. If I own, I don't know, CIBC in Canada and they pay a dividend, it goes through to my account automatically? How long does it take?
So once the dividend is paid on our account, because remember we have the securities in our
right, in bulk, right?
Then we will pay the broker and the broker will pay the client.
Okay. Just remember, people, it's in street name, so it may take another day or so after dividend is paid.
Somewhere thereabouts.
Somewhere thereabouts.
Yeah.
Okay. O'Neill Lynch is asking, can you take loans against securities on the Canadian market?
Well, if you can take it on the Canadian market, I won't be able to answer that because, of course, it's an electronic platform. The relationship that we have, you as the beneficiary holder does not have a relationship with the Canadian broker, but on the local market, we can say once the securities are there, you can use it as collateral for a loan.
But Kadil, if I have my $1 million of CIBC shares, held in street name at JCSD, can't I pledge those locally?
Yeah, so that's what I said, Robin. That
no, you can pledge those. So the answer is a straight yes or no.
Yeah,
of course, there's a significant haircut somewhere in the region of, I think, many brokers go, 50% or below of the market value of a security. But the answer to that is a definitive yes, I would think.
Yes.
And let the borrower beware and let the lender also beware. All right. Anonymous, another anonymous, or is it the same anonymous person, is asking, how can one buy bonds in Jamaica or overseas, and what is the process? Again, not the subject we're on right now. Let's circle back around to that. O'Neill, when access is given to the US stock markets, can one transfer securities to the DMA portal?
If you have US securities, if you can transfer the securities into your US portfolio?
Yes, so I'm presuming what they're saying is, O'Neill has his $1 million in Google, right? And when now NASDAQ, Google is on NASDAQ or it's on NYSE?
Yes, so once we start operating on the US market, then you'd be able to transfer securities.
So you can transfer securities into street name here with JCSD as holding the bulk, and Bob's your uncle, off you go to the races, DMA portal. Yes?
Yes, and then we'll represent it in your local DMA account.
I don't want to misrepresent in a Cadil. One thing I know is that I know nothing.
I think Cadil is answering you correctly.
I may not be, but Cadil is. That's usually the case. The story of my life. We have a few more questions. Wow, this keep piling up. David, how will the return leg be managed, especially with the end of year timeline?
Sorry, Robin, can you repeat? I'm hearing an echo.
Is it from me? Is it I, my lord?
Not sure.
Turn off my
Can you just repeat the question? And
the question is from David Rose. How will the return leg be managed, especially with the end of year timeline?
how do you determine this will be managed with the end of year timeline?
The return leg.
Oh, the return leg. Okay, so what we are working on for the return leg is that ability for investors to actually go onto the platform. They will have to trade through a broker, through a local broker, and they'll be able to do the trading from the DMA platform on the stock exchange.
But that's not quite ready yet, yes?
No, it's not quite ready yet.
No.
Okay. E. Millen asks, are there trading limits involved in the DMA? Is there a ceiling? Is there a floor for volume or value of trades?
There is a ceiling for each broker, but the broker would manage if there's any ceiling as it relates to the individual investors.
So it's going to be a discussion between you and your broker in terms of how much they'd be willing to expose themselves to the risk of their clients in this trading. Yes.
Correct. So, Robin, I know that there are other presenters, so I know that it seems as if there are a number of questions. So I am asking through you, Mr. Moderator, if I could allow the other presenters, and then after I can come back for another question and answer section. If that's...
I think that's an excellent suggestion, Cadil. I thank you for managing me as usual, so that we can proceed. So I'm very sorry, participants. There are 150 of you online now. We have 4 other presentations, I believe, to go. 1, 2, 3, 3 more presentations and a testimonial to go. So I'm going to just cut off questions for now and see if we can get back to them at the end of all the presentations. Okay, thank you much for your interest and participation. Hope we've been answering your questions effectively. Mr. Edgerton Bullock works with a very reputable brokerage house internationally. He's an international client advisor and has worked with the JSE on a number of things. He's going to present to us today on investment opportunities, exploring investment opportunities in the US stock markets. Egerton, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. And it's a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited about these products. We've been talking about them for a while, and I'm glad that we are thinking about the United States market as far as participation. Again, the name of the game is diversification and increasing returns relative to the risk we take. You know, I happen to be a founding member of the CFA Society of Jamaica, and I'm sure some of our members are on this call. And what I do pretty much all day is asset allocation and producing portfolios, trying to maximize return relative to the risks that we take. And so I find it very difficult to even imagine how that can be done without using the US markets. Clearly, the US markets are some of the largest in the world. We really have three indices. I'm going to be talking about the S&P 500. That's the largest 500 market cap companies with a total market capitalization of $34 trillion in the 500 stocks, a dividend yield of about 1.7 and a PE ratio of around 22. So again, this is the type of product that belongs in most portfolios. My first slide shows asset returns over the last 10 years. And it's a little small, but if you look at the 10-year return on US equities, it's 12.2. That's also, if you look at the volatility of those returns over the last 10 years, it's 12.1. We basically have a Sharpe ratio of 1, which means basically the return on US stocks has been up and down, but pretty much for the last 10 years, a very positive thing. This is in US dollars, by the way. It's one of the 10 asset classes on this slide. You'll see that the returns on the US equities has outperformed all other asset classes over the 10-year period. Okay, you can move forward. One slide. Okay, so this is basically a chart of the S&P 500 over the last 95 years, almost 100 years. And what I wanted you to get from this slide is that although there are movements, obviously the Great Depression, we know what happened in the financial crisis, 2008, but if you are a long-term investor and if you diversify, this becomes a straight line. It becomes less gambling and more investing. So again, the themes from looking at this slide is if you're a long-term investor and you diversify away some of that volatility or market risk in one stock, you're going to have returns that are going to increase over time. And in this slide, we invested $100 in 1926, and lo and behold, it's 1.2 million in 2023. Obviously, there's no taxes paid, and you have to reinvest all dividends and cash flow from the investment. But still, the reality is, if you're a long-term investor and you diversify, you're going to be fine. You can move forward, please. Again, this is just the returns every year, and you'll see that there are, many years that the returns have been positive. Again, we've had 2008 and 1933 where we've had negative returns, but this is again a $34 trillion index, and in the reality, it's going to be moving up, and these are documented returns. If you can move forward, that'd be great. All right, again, just looking at the returns, 73% of the years between 1926 and today, we've had positive annual returns. There are obviously 27 years where we've had negative returns, but it's skewed toward the positive returns. In fact, most of the years we've had between 10 and 20% returns in the S&P 500. Again, a necessary part of pretty much every portfolio. You can move forward. Okay, and this slide gives you the sector valuations of the S&P 500. A significant portion of, or weight is in financials, in communication stocks. But the reality is the S&P 500 is a fairly diversified index, including many different sectors. And this slide also gives you some of the returns going in 2023. All right, so some of the themes, that's really it for the slides. Some of the themes that we're dealing with now in the market, and it's a very exciting market. We obviously have had about 18 months of inflation now after the pandemic ended, and our Federal Reserve was a little slow to act, and so we're still in the process of raising interest rates. In fact, policy rates now are 5%. I looked at the 1-month Treasury this morning; it was 5.8. We've got also issues with the debt ceiling in the United States. So when the risk-free rate is 5.8 or above 5%, it does create a very interesting environment for equities, because again, as an investor, you have many options, one of them just being in cash. And if cash is yielding you 5%, then your equity investment has to be overwhelming. And so the way to look at it, though, is that I believe that equities are very attractive because of the interest rate environment that we're in. You've got a lot of themes that are going on right now. The biggest one is artificial intelligence, and I'm sure some of you have followed what one of the largest stocks in our market, NVIDIA, did today. It went up almost 25%. NVIDIA is approaching the $1 trillion market cap. Again, they create the chips that we believe are going to be necessary for artificial intelligence, as opposed to CPU. They really create GPU, which basically the chips can do two things at once, two or three things at once. So those are the themes that are going on now in the tech sector. You've seen stocks like Microsoft, which has a market cap of 2.3 trillion, Apple, which has a market cap of 2.7 trillion, Google 1.5 trillion, Amazon 1.1 trillion, Meta or Facebook at 650 billion. These are stocks that can be in your portfolio. And so now with the new product that will give you access to purchasing them and having them in a diversified portfolio, I think that is going to be very optimal. Again, the performance of these high tech, large cap stocks, even in the environment where we have 5% policy rates, these stocks have done well this year, predominantly because of the theme that they can take advantage of the coming artificial intelligence movement in the country and in the world globally. So that's something that is going to happen, and these companies are, because of their large cap, are positioned to take advantage of it. So again, so they belong in a portfolio. So I'm going to end the presentation there, but I'd love to take questions about the presentation, the U.S. markets, and the like.
Thank you very much. Well done. So Jennifer, you are CEO and founder of Finlity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Finlity. I guess you're going to tell us a lot more about that.
Yes.
So please be welcome.
Thank you.
And it's over to you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. So what a fascinating time I'm having, and I'm honored to be here. I'm Jen Schell, CEO and founder of Finlity. And Finlity is a SaaS tool that we built to fit over top of discount brokerages and regular brokerages that helps the retail investor have a smoother journey and to help them invest like a pro according to their personality type. And what this does is it really helps the brokerage be able to engage them in different products and engage them in the journey and in investing. And we feel really strongly about this because it lets everybody participate in the market and everybody get advice, as opposed to the situation where it's now, where if you don't have $250,000, at least in Canada, you don't have access to that advice. And so I bring with me, I've got over 15 years of experience in wealth management with some of the biggest brokerages in Canada, CIBC Wood Gundy being one, BMO Nesbitt Burns being another one. I'm a discretionary portfolio manager, and I love what I do. I am passionate about the markets, and I'm so glad to tell you about the opportunities that are in the Canadian stock market. I'm so glad that there are opportunities in the Jamaican stock market as well. So I was asked to kind of present the macro view of what happened before the pandemic, what that was like, what are the changes, and what's happening now. So pre-pandemic, it was kind of like everything was going great. Everyone, as you can see here, was making money. We had work friends. What's that? People came to work no matter what. We had to deal with these manual processes. That's me in the corner there looking down at my paperwork, just frustrated by the systems. Everything was manual. In Canada, at least we had a real estate frenzy. If you didn't own real estate, what were you doing? I had a feeling that interest rates would be going up. And so, I was warning people to be cautiously optimistic about the real estate market. And of course, we had vacations, which if you had the luxury of doing that in 2019, you were lucky. Then came the pandemic and a lot of changes came hold. March 2020 was a really, really rocky year. And that's when I really started to engage people in my startup and to build it. And we had the birth pretty much of digital advice. Whereas before, markets were inaccessible, everything was done manually, it was who you knew. Now everybody could trade, everybody could invest, and you had access to everything. So many investors came into the market in droves. And then there were the social media hypes, and there was Reddit and meme stocks, and they just kind of took over the psychology of the investor, which led to toxic gamification. And in Robinhood, as we know, there's some tragedies where people traded options and they had no idea what they were doing. They'd see a margin account, it wouldn't be reflected properly, and they'd panic. And that led to some unfortunate demises. Now, I always say this is one of my mottos: the trend is your friend. If the trend is up, you can ride that wave, but always know that if the market's gone up 10x, you got to take your profits. It's always good to take your profits. And this graph right here is one of my favorites. It shows where the smart money gets in. A lot of the portfolio managers get in here at the bottom, people who study the market, your broker maybe, and it's over here when a lot of the public gets in. You see this attention going on the public news forums, Reddit, influencers on TikTok or whatnot, and they just kind of ramp up the demand for things until you don't really know when the top is. And it's usually the retail investors who do not have experience investing on the markets or who are familiar with the name and went in and jumped in on a whim with regards to FOMO, who end up carrying the losses. And that's what we saw here happen to GameStop. It happened to a lot of different stocks on the NASDAQ, on big exchanges. And you get the downfall, you get that it happened with Bitcoin as well, and cryptocurrencies. So it's always good to be mindful of taking profits, and you can never go wrong. And that brings us to today, the post-pandemic, where ChatGPT is your friend. I'm familiar with ChatGPT. I've used it since the beginning. It's not, you can be afraid of it, but you can also embrace it. It really helps to be efficient with it, and you can do so many more things with it and learn so much quicker than you could ever before. In March this year, we had the Silicon Valley Bank collapse, which had a ripple effect, namely on a lot of the smaller companies who relied on them for funding, mostly the venture funded companies, not as much so on the capital market side, which we're investing in today. And we had deep learning and AI, and we're actually in Next AI right now building the artificial intelligence virtual arm of our solution. And it is cool. It's a whole new revolution, and we're lucky to be part of it. And there's so many opportunities to be had because of this. We also have the FTX scandal, which ruined it for a lot of crypto exchanges. And that came hand in hand with interest rates increasing, which everybody seemed to be in denial about. But here we are, interest rates are increasing, and we're in a new type of environment with new opportunities. And so what worked last year, what worked even 6 months ago, may not work going forward. If you click on all of these links, there's some of the articles where you can read more about this. So today I was asked to discuss about the problem, and that's why is it so hard to make money with microcap securities? And we're going to discuss some of that. In North America and Canada especially, they say that small cap securities carry a lot of risk. There's too much risk. We don't understand them. So how do we invest in them? But they have a lot of big opportunities too if you embrace them. And studies have shown that the more you embrace capital markets and innovation in your economy, the better you will be, the more prosperous you will be as well. So this is a really great opportunity for everyone. Microcap markets have high risks, but they may also give you high rewards if you proceed with great discipline and caution. So the three issues are information overload. It does take time to learn. It takes a lot of time. You have to comb through financial statements. You got to get to know loan management. And I'm going to give you some shortcuts on how to tackle this efficiently from my 20 years of knowledge working in the stock markets and learning and acting on them. And then there are high risks. So the main one here, if you're trading small caps or micro caps, are the loss traps, the liquidity traps that are there. And third, there's also bad advice. Everyone's a financial expert. Everyone's telling you what to do with your life. They're telling you how to invest. You're too safe. You're too risky. Don't listen to them. You need to just, stand true to your own personal core values and what's right for your life. And if you have a family, making sure that you're taking care of your family. And right here, we believe in actually validating those emotions that come up because they're the ones that can derail your whole investment strategy. Right here, we have one of our villains, Tracy Complacency. She's the VP of compliance at the FO, the Department of Redundancy Department. And she's always telling you you're taking too much risk. She's always making sure that you live in the status quo. And this is Vanessa, and she's our guide in our financial universe to get you ahead and to coach you on helping you to try to make the best decisions for you. And the best way to make financial decisions is through wisdom and by learning through other people. You can't expect riches overnight. Expect 5 years to get results. Wherever you are today, it's okay. Just start. And the solution is with a good investing process in place, you really can prosper. And how do you do that? We mentioned that, everybody's mentioned that multiple times today, diversification. It truly is one of the best things you can do for your portfolio, for your investments, is to have diversification, not to hold all your eggs in one basket, to have 10 holdings or more securities. And that's not having money spread all over different bank accounts. You can have one bank account or one investment account, but it's holding different types of securities in different regions and different asset classes. That'll really get you ahead, and it'll protect you and give you those consistent returns that you really, really like to have. And it'll help you sleep at night. The other thing, my favorite abbreviation is Dior. I also like the designer, but do your own research. Everyone tells you that. It gets tiring, but it's true. It'll keep you out of trouble. But the thing is, you only have so much time. Maybe you work, maybe you're, looking to do this as just having some investments to put away for your future, and you might not have endless hours. So we'll go through some tips and tricks to get you ahead a lot faster. And the third, and I think this is the most important one, is to know thyself, your investor personality, who you are, how much risk you can take, how much opportunity, how much, risk and opportunity that you're willing to take on. Why Canada? This is actually my neighborhood. It's a really nice view of it when it's not snowing. It's actually not too bad right now. But Canada has a lot of great opportunities, and it's a very diverse city. You're welcome to join, and I'm really excited about this partnership that you have going with us. I think it's great. I'm going to show you how you can use the diversification of Canada to strengthen your portfolio holdings. So Canada's got some industry strengths, notably our 6 big banks, RBC, Scotia, National Bank, CIBC, TD, and BMO. Now, these players own 95% of the market share. So if you are going to go into small holdings, know that you're up against a big, tough audience. And so if you're going to be doing large cap investments, the Canadian banks are a good option. However, if you're looking to do smaller cap investments, you're better off looking to other areas of our economy, such as oil and gas, some of the clean tech solutions, and mining and minerals. We're very strong in that, and Canada's very rich in natural resources. So I took this image from the Canadian Securities Listings. This is their listings feed, and you can actually sort what types of projects that you're looking for by industry. And it's always good to have about 5 or 6 industries if you can. I know I mentioned that you should have 10 holdings. So the more you can diversify by industry type and by asset class, the better off you'll be. Now, this is where you can combine Jamaica's diversification into the mix. So, you do have a lot of tourism. And as I understand it, there's a lot of income being made by there. And so you want to diversify away from your main source of income. So if you're in mining, you should probably invest in other types of, industries. If you're in banking, you want to invest in other types of industries because a lot of your income is already coming from there. So this, Jamaica is very good in their financial sector. You've got some really cool things that are going on, some really neat new technologies that are emerging, which is very exciting for you and something I'm going to be looking out for as well. We have manufacturing and agriculture too that are strengths. So combining all these is a really great thing to do. Now we're going to do a case study. So here we have these abbreviations with the know your product and know your client, which all your brokers need to be familiar with. And this is when you want to do your own research effectively. Now, if you're looking at charts and everything for the first time, this is what it feels like, information overload. It's all coming at you. But when you break it down, it's quite interesting, and you can get some clarity about what speaks to you. Now, if you're looking for momentum, it's always good to see, just to put something up on the chart, especially when it comes to microcap securities, to see how they've been performing. As you can see, you could have made 100% return had you been investing in this company in January, and then you sold, if you sold in mid-February. That's a really quick return. My rule of thumb, if you make 100% return, always take half off the table, because you never know if it's going to go right back down to where you paid for it. So when you get something that happens so quickly and you get a really quick return, just take it, take advantage of that. Now, I'm not promoting Acme Lithium. It was just that it had a lot of trading indicators that were sensible to follow. So I haven't actually done any analysis on this. This is just for educational purposes only. And so we can see here that there's a description of what Acme Lithium does. It's in mineral exploration. You can see what they do. And the best way to actually evaluate this is if it speaks to you. Are they doing something that you believe in? So you can go to their company website. You could reach out and you can follow the management of the team and get to know the management and what they stand for. Take a look at Stephen's past track records. Take a look at Zara's past companies that she's gone into. Do they have experience? When I'm looking at mining companies, I always make sure, is there a geologist on staff? Is there a mining engineer? And is there a business person? Because somebody has to go out and promote the story, and you need the other two on the ground, and you need a legitimate resource. So that's really what you need to do, is really get familiar with them, and don't have too many companies because you can't follow them. And the other thing you want to do here is you want to have a comparison with 3 competitors. So find 2 other lithium companies in the space that are similar in size. The way you can find the size very easily is if you find the market cap, which is, I'm going over this quickly, but you see the issued and outstanding shares multiplied by the share price. So you're going to be looking for another company with about an $18 million market cap. The other thing I always watch for with trading microcap securities is making sure that the issued and outstanding shares is reasonable. You don't want dilution, which means that it would take a long time for your shares to appreciate in value, and for the market to take hold of the story. So I always look at, as a best practice, just to have shares that have 150 million shares or less. This is something to take note of. This is one of the major pitfalls, is the bid and ask spread when you're trading. So depending on how much money you have, there's usually a pretty wide spread with these smaller cap securities or lesser known securities. This is something you want to be aware of right away. The bid is what somebody's willing to sell you the stock for. The ask is what somebody's willing to sell it to you for. So sorry, you're going to sell it to the bid and you're going to buy it from the ask. So this is a typical dashboard. So you can get all this information on the CSE website, which I understand you have a partnership with. Now, I just wanted to showcase like what happens if you have $100,000 and you put it to work in the market. You could get a very bad fill. So if you have $100,000 in the market, you have 33,000 shares, and you go through these levels, you'll be covered here, you'll be covered here. So you'll get filled at about, give or take 35 cents, between 35 and 33. However, if you've got 1 million shares or $1 million in the market, this could be very bad for you, and you could totally overpay or sell at a major loss if you're putting this much money to work. And this is where being small has a major advantage, to be able to take advantage of some of these opportunities. These are all the brokers that trade on the exchanges. Raymond James is an American broker, but they're in Canada. And most of these other ones are all Canadian. So this is the liquidity trap I was talking about, just something to be aware of. And you can study the different display boards that are on for free, showcased on the CSE website. Another place where you can find out about these companies is on their social media accounts. Twitter is usually verified. That's one where you can actually engage with the management of the company. It's really great to see. LinkedIn, you can follow it. Reddit, there's a lot of messaging boards. Beware, there's a lot of pump and dumpers out there. There are a lot of people who might tell lies. They can say anything they want. Reddit's an anonymous forum, so be very cautious. You might see something that you like on there, but do your own due diligence. And I put some resources for information here that are legitimate sources where you can learn about these companies. So Canadian Securities Exchange, the company website. In Canada, we have a place called CEDAR, which holds all the financial statements. There's also Investopedia if you want to learn about some of their terminology, if you have time to read. And then the Globe and Mail is a notable news source in Canada where you can find legitimate news, and sometimes they talk about some of these securities. And Kitco as well if you're looking at mining. So third, and this is the most important, is to know thyself. We have, you can join an investment faction. We have a survey. There's no math or anything, just questions about how you feel about risk, how you feel about different things, and how you feel about your own abilities. And you could take that on our finlity.com website, and you'll get instant feedback emailed to you, so you can really learn about what your strengths and weaknesses are. And you can also subscribe to our Finlity newsletter, where we actually talk about what happened in the market in a Canadian context mostly. And we talk about some of these smaller issues as well. And we talk about crypto. Now, this risk comfort matrix is very important to master. It looks like a lot, but once you understand where you fall on the spectrum, then it's a lot easier to have conviction in your strategy. So if you are going to take any risk and you're not comfortable with it, or you're just getting started, at most put 15% of your portfolio to work. Don't put too much in, don't go all in. It's just not a prudent thing to do. If you're speculative in nature, you can take some of these higher risks. You may be comfortable with it or more drawn to it. But if you are low risk tolerance, then, make sure that you're in investments, or you talk to your broker about investments that are suitable for your capacity to tolerate that risk. And that's where it all starts. Here's the link if you want to see our discovery survey and go to our website. I'll happy to share my slides with you at the end as well. And you can learn about some of the biases that are there and some of the factions that are there. There's no wrong answer. It's just who you are as an individual. And so we have our Finlity explainer video as well. So you can see how the platform works. And it's just a bit of 1.5 minute video. And if you have some questions for me, if I can answer them now, great. If you want to answer them at the end. And if you want to connect with me, I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to hear what kind of struggles you're going through, what you'd like to learn about in terms of investing in the Canadian market. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I check it often. I'm also on Twitter. We have a Facebook group and a Discord channel as well. And you're welcome to check out the website. So Finlity is our Twitter handle. So you're welcome to connect, and I'd love to connect with you. And thank you for your time today. This is really informative. And I think it's really an exciting opportunity for everybody here to get started with investing. Once you start, you won't be able to stop, believe me. Thank you.
Well done, Jen. You've covered quite a bit of ground in a short space of time. Would I be correct in saying that you are actually investment coaches?
Investment coaches?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we've designed an AI framework around it. So it'll be a digital coach that's assigned to you, but it's essentially like a journey where we help you invest. It's a digital journey where you get like handheld through in different steps in a digital way. So yeah, it makes it a lot easier. And then we curate the products that are suitable for your individual personality and goals.
Okay, as a subscriber service effectively.
Yeah, so we're looking to make it available and distribute it onto the brokerages. So hopefully one day it'll be on CIBC and then you could use it there and you can curate your list of investments.
Sounds good. Did we have any questions for Jen? Kind of segueing from Egerton to yourself. Egerton was talking mostly about large cap stocks, the S&P 500, and you seem to be putting in a very significant plug for small cap stocks. But you did also mention, you know, some large investors you could, almost as a proxy that you could invest in, because you invest in these investors and they are large cap, but they invest in all over the market. How do you feel about ETFs?
I think that exchange traded funds have their place too. They're great if you're looking to diversify and you don't have a ton of money, but you're going to be capped at how much return you have. So, you know, they're great if you have a specific goal in mind. So if you want an 8% return, ETFs are great to diversify. It depends which ETFs you want to go into as well, because lately there have been some providers that may not provide as high quality as ETFs as others. So I would stick with the major providers of exchange traded funds. And it's important to be diversified in exchange traded funds too, because they hold the whole market in them. And so they're naturally built in and diversified. So if you're looking for a passive approach, that's great. I'm more on I love active investing myself. So it's all what matters to you. And if you care about the fees and taxes, you know, everything has their purpose, and it's always good to use an assortment of whatever it is that's going to fulfill your goals.
Have a bunch of arrows in your quiver, right?
That's right.
Right. Interesting you mentioned tax. We have a question from Kay Wilson as to what the applicable taxes would be that are payable on gains made on the stock exchange, on the Canadian stock exchanges.
Yeah, so tax questions are like something I'm going to stay away from, but it depends on your marginal tax rate if you're in Canada. So it's usually like 50% of your gain, and then you get taxed on that. So yeah, we pay a lot of taxes in Canada, but I don't know.
You get value for your money. I'm not sure the same is true down here.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a having a good blend and having different types of stocks with different types of market caps is great. It all depends on where you are in your life cycle. If you're young, you can take more risk and you can afford more risk.
So I'm sorry, Kay Wilson, we don't have a precise answer for you in terms of what tax is payable, but there will be taxes payable on gains, because there are taxes on capital and gains and dividends in Canada.
Yes.
Egerton, do you have a thought on this large cap v small cap issue?
Well, I do. I like your question regarding ETFs, because that's a theme that has been going through the North American markets for a while, because you have ETFs now that have major capitalizations like SPY and VOO, and you even have both active and passively managed ETFs. And in a program like what you have here, the Jamaica Stock Exchange, and I'm not sure if you're going to be using ETFs, but I would suggest that it would be a good thing if an investor can buy, for instance, SPY, buy the exposure to the S&P 500, and buy one security. Again, you can do that. You can buy large cap value, large cap growth. You can buy certain industries. So it's a much more efficient and effective way of participating in the investment process if you do use ETFs, if they are included in the program here at the Jamaica Stock Exchange. And that's the question I really have for you, or how much are you going to get involved with ETFs? Well,
I know it's something we've been working at, and I suspect Delia may have something to say about where we're going in terms of that. So thanks for that feedback, Egerton. We'll circle back to the question you asked in answer to my question. Thank you very much for giving me more work to do. We have a question, a quick last question before we move on to Delia from O'Neill. Bloomberg and CNBC are good to learn about US stocks. What channel would you recommend for Canadian to learn about Canadian stocks?
So BNN is a fan favorite. They talk
BNN.
BNN, yeah. Business News Network.
Business
Yeah.
News Network.
Yeah.
I don't think we get that on cable here, so we'd have to get it online, right? So O'Neill,
Yeah.
your question, check out Business News Network. You'll probably find them online. Maybe if you Google Business News Network Canada, you'll get that feed. Okay, thanks a lot again, Jennifer. Thanks a lot again, Edgerton. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Delia Johnson, Senior Trader at QMax Wealth Management Limited.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Delia Johnson, otherwise known as your favorite trader. That was supposed to be a joke. You can smile now. All right, so I'm just gonna go right into it. I'm supposed to be sharing with you what our success story has been so far. We've been trading DMA from July 2022, and I'm of the view that you can't have success without first considering some factors when investing, right? So we've been having some intelligent conversations preceding me, and that's great. I actually love that. So let's get right into it. We're living through one of the most important historical periods of time, and for most of us in this moment, none of it will make sense, right? We have been closely monitoring interest rates because that impact the cost of borrowing. Every time you're watching primetime news, you turn on Bloomberg, you go on CNN, CNBC, you name it, that's what we're talking about. Where is interest rate going? Where is policy rate going? We're closely gauging economic growth because that, of course, is going to tell you what the demand is, how businesses will spend money, what the consumers are enjoying. We've been at the edge of our seats monitoring confidence, which is probably one of the most volatile factors in investment because it can change like that. We've also been anxious about technological developments. The new buzz phrase now is AI. Everybody's looking out for those robots and what it means for wage labor around us. We've also been closely monitoring a lot of corporate notes and stuff, which essentially is the availability of funding and business access or access of businesses to these fundings, to the funds available, right? And more importantly, we've been restive, especially in Jamaica here, about wage costs. Everybody who is getting paid right now has been a little uneasy about, the cost of wages here, what we take home, government policy in terms of what is the government gonna do to enable firms to be able to invest, and most of all, inflation. Now, throughout the pandemic, we all know what inflation did, how it impacted us. And of course, we understand that high inflation raises uncertainty about future costs and prices. So it's not just about you going to the supermarket, but it also impacts the business's availability to access funds and to be able to spend those funds in a reasonable way, right? So what you're looking at now is my favorite phrase, "Oh Canada," which is the land of great opportunities, right? I've been told, because a lot of us tend to leave Jamaica to go there. But the opportunities I'm going to talk about today is a little different from why a lot of us leave. Canada offers, so why Canada, right? So of course, some of you may or may not be familiar with my story and the DMA. I was basically, I got like one sentence: stock exchanges doing DMA, make it happen, right? And the rest is history because we're here now. Canada offers investors an attractive opportunity. So that's why I'm here today, right? To talk to you guys about this. Yes, the US is about to come on board, but you can enjoy both jurisdictions, right? It makes sense. It's called diversification and it's important. So Canada offers an attractive investment opportunity to invest in a robust economy with extensive natural resources. As I said, for most of us in this time, a lot of it is not going to make sense. But if you take a historical look at the economies and how you want to invest in these economies, then there are great benefits in investing in a place like Canada, for example, because generally inflation is stable and there are low budget deficits, right? So you get a feel of the fact that the government itself or the different jurisdictions, different provinces are making good decisions that will impact your investment objectives, right? So Canada gives investors preferential market access through 15 trade agreements, about 51 countries with nearly 1.5 billion consumers and a combined GDP of $52 trillion, right? I was trying to show you, I was trying to introduce you to Canada before, but we can leave it on this slide and I get to it. So Canada, the land of great opportunities, is the second largest country by total area. So I feel the need to introduce this or to say this to my investors because a lot of people hear the word Canada, but they don't actually think about what it means for your money, right? So let's get into it. It's the second largest country by total area. Now, everybody know Toronto, everybody know Quebec, everybody know Alberta and British Columbia, and these guys basically contribute mostly to the GDP of Canada, right? So what does it look like against Canada, against the USA, for example, right? So both of them have basically the same projected growth rate for this year. Canada is about 8.7% of the GDP of the USA with a per capita income of about 74% of the USA's. Why am I saying this to you? The USA's policy rate is 50 bips higher than Canada's with their inflation about 27 bips lower than Canada. So the US in, all of these things that don't make sense to most of us, trying to monitor inflation, trying to monitor all of these things, crunching the numbers, they're doing the hard work. All you need to do is think about where you want to put your money and how it's gonna make sense in the long run. So let us, the crazy people, think about all of those crazy things, and then you come and call your broker and invest in what we're trying to get you to invest in. All right, so when you look at the buzzword for most people over the last year or so, inflation, what we're looking at primarily is inflation for the USA against Canada, against the UK, basically the G7 countries, right? More or less, Canada trends below the US and the UK over time, and it is currently about 5.2%, which sounds high, but against everybody else, it's pretty decent. This platform, what does it mean to me? What does it mean to us? What does it mean to you? Now, Cadil had included earlier in her presentation that the JSE Direct Market Access platform is an order management system which allows the client, you, through a local broker, currently QMax or Verita, to access stock exchanges in other jurisdictions, right? So currently we're looking at Canada. Investors can purchase Canadian stocks and bonds through, well, right now just stocks through the DMA platform. And there are 4 exchanges that are being traded currently: the Toronto Stock Exchange, TSX Venture, the Canadian Securities Exchange, and the CBOE or the NEO Exchange, right? It's important to note, because I know that Cadil had gotten into some really interesting things that have your mind going all over the place. But when you're using the platform, which essentially is what you're seeing on the right, you don't feel all of what Cadil had explained to you, right? You don't see the broker. If you don't want to talk to the broker, you don't talk to the broker. Like, it's literally as simple as that. And everything is T+2, right? So don't get yourself caught up with what was explained earlier, because as the investor, you don't see it. You pick up the phone, you call the investment advisor puts through the trade to the trader as normal. The trader puts up the trade, boom, done, over, out, T+2. Check your JCSD account and it's in there. So overall, the platform is quick and responsive, as long as you know your entry point. So my grouse with this platform is that I can't see the queue, right? I like queues. I like to see where people line up, because it helps in the decision that you make in terms of when you want to come in and when you want to get out, right? But no worries, we still make money moves around here. So unfortunately, day trading, because I think people are wondering how to go about that on a platform. Day trading at this point does not make sense on the platform because everything is T+2. So you can't trade today, and you can't buy today and sell today unless you already had that stock in your portfolio before, right? So go easy on the day trading requests. Yeah, all right. So now we're adding value. So like most of you, I listen to a lot of music, right? And my taste in music is very varied. So I'm gonna quote Usain Bolt at this point with "World's My Playground." I like that song. He quotes, "Generational wealth, kids name pan title, old money, new money, everything pile up." How you do that? So there are two stocks listed right here, or being shown right here, right? Two very different stocks, two very different companies, Restaurant Brands and Barrick Gold Corporation, right? For the nerds in the audience who understand what they're looking at, the Restaurant Brands for me is one of those buy and hold, and you take a profit when you've achieved your investment objective, right? The one on the right, which is Barrick Gold Corporation, basically you can trade that cyclically and add significant gains to your portfolio, right? If you don't understand what's there, feel free, call us 926-7767 and we'll guide you through it. Now, why do I like Restaurant Brands? We like food and we like it fast. And the fact that I'm up $30 per share on my investment is a pretty decent gain, I think. It pays a quarterly dividend. And just to put it in context, we bought it about $66. And if it closed today at $98, then you kind of get where I'm going with this. It pays, that's Restaurant Brands, it pays a quarterly dividend. Some of us love dividends, right? It's called residual income. And currently the aggregate yield on the QSR is about 3%, which is not bad on foreign currency, right? Because after all, the DMA is a foreign currency investment. Barrick Gold, just to make it a little bit more familiar to you, I know a lot of you eat a lot of Burger King and Popeyes. They fall under the Restaurant Brands, so there goes that. It makes sense to invest in what you eat sometimes because that's how you get back the money that you spend and in multiples on top of that. Barrick Gold, I like Barrick Gold because obviously it's gold, right? Which girl don't like that? Whether yellow or white, we like that. So Barrick Gold also pays a quarterly dividend and the yield on that is about 2.3%. But if I'm looking at my resistance correctly on the Barrick Gold, I'm looking at about a 30% upside pretty often. And for me to make it make sense for you, if you invested $100 and you're getting back $30 every time you trade the stock, then yeah, you get the point. We are engaged, right? At QMax, we're engaged. So it's our job to watch the markets and guide your decision making. All we ask, as Jennifer had indicated before, is that you take a is that you take a vested interest in your portfolio and follow the money. So you're welcome to join us, and thank you for coming with us today on this journey.
Thank you, Delia. Thank you again. I actually see a couple of questions in the chat. This is a tough one from Omar. I think we should take it. This may not be the place, but what do you think about the increasing calls to move away from the US dollar where international trade is concerned? Will this affect US companies and financial institutions there? I'd like to think this is going to affect confidence and result in a decline in US fin assets, thereby depreciating holdings. But what's your take? I don't know if that's an Egerton question, a Delia question, or a Jennifer question. I think you might have to gang it. Any thoughts, you guys? The whole idea of the petrodollar moving away from US, there's a lot of talk about that. I'm sure you've seen it and heard it. Egerton, you want to take first crack at it?
I would challenge the premise that commerce is moving away from the US dollar. All signals that we get are that more and more, especially with the strong dollar that we're seeing based on where policy rates are in the US, we're seeing more activity move to the US dollar. I understand the risk. Obviously, we have some major economies in Asia thinking that they might diverge from use of the dollar, but outside of the Chinese, remember, I don't know where you're going to be doing transactions. I don't know where the world is going to be comfortable with another currency besides the US dollar. So, and we've been talking about that for 50 years now, and I don't see any decline in the use of the dollar.
I don't know, my man. There's a lot of anti-US sentiment around the world, plenty of it. There is talk about the possibility of a US debt default. The US dollar is backed really by nothing but debt, far removed from the gold standard. And a number of countries around the globe are kind of tired actually of the US dollar standard as being it. I know that there are countries which are looking at holding of bilateral currencies for deals like this. We know India, we know the BRICS are looking at it. We're going to ignore Putin for now, right? Because he's Putin, so obviously we're going to ignore him. But I would tend to disagree. There's a lot of anti-US sentiment out there, and there's a lot of push right now, especially from countries of the South, to move away from the US dollar as the international standard. Don't know what the next one will be, but there's a lot of talk.
Yeah, well, I think we'll need some sort of a currency that the world feels comfortable with. Regarding the deficit, that's more self-inflicted. That's not something that our debtors are forcing us into. That's more of a problem within the United States and Congress. So that's something that will get resolved shortly. It has been in the past, but you've got to come up with another exchange that makes sense before we start.
Agreed. Didn't want to take us too far off topic. I saw Marlene coming in, but Marlene, did you want to say something?
I was agreeing with Everton to say that you have to find what else you would be looking at before, So at this point in time, people just invest with caution, understanding that this is a part of the variable that may happen, but I don't think it's there for now.
I would tend to agree, and almost certainly it's a safer currency than the Jamaican dollar, but that's not a story for another day.
Yeah.
So, other question. Anonymous, you're asking how you can move from interactive brokers to DMA. I would suggest you contact either Barita or QMax. You can find them in online. Telephone directories, Delia is right there. She already gave it a number, 926-7767, and find out how you can do that, okay? I'm not seeing, are there other questions? Yes, look at the market cap of the US stocks. That's O'Neill. Apple is richer than most countries. Yeah. Do we have to purchase foreign currency or can we use JMD and is it changed at the prevailing rate? Michael Thompson is asking, how do we handle the foreign exchange conversion?
All right, so I'm happy that you asked that question, Mikhail. We actually prefer if you come with Jamaican. Currently, we do all conversion transactions for you. We don't want to stress you out with trying to go and find your own Canadian to come into the office, blah, 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 blah. We're not doing that. So you send across the Jamaican dollars and we'll handle it from there. Easy peasy.
But who takes the foreign exchange risk, Delia? It's the
foreign exchange risk is on the client.
It's the investor's risk, yeah.
Yeah, it's investor's risk.
Okay, Michael. All right.
I want to ask Delia, but you're not saying that they can't come with the Canadian dollar, though.
Well, it's increasingly, we've had challenges with accepting the Canadian.
Actually, I tried to open a Canadian account with CIBC and strangely it became a problem. I don't know why it would be, but it was problematic. They said US and Jamaican is fine, but Canadian, not so much. And they wouldn't take euros either. And they wouldn't even convert it. But
I think part of it is the volatility that comes with the Canadian, right? So in my own experience, today you can get the Canadian for like 112, for example, and then in 2 days it's at 117. And if you go in open market with it, like you go into a cambio for it, then you know that you'd tack on like another $2 or $3 on it. So because I know that it's unlikely that you would get a better rate than I would get, I'm extending the rate that I would get to the client.
And of course, I'm sure you're doing so transparently, so the client is comfortable that he's not,
Of course, of
genuine
course,
exchange rate.
of course. We only act
Right.
transparently around here.
Okay. Well, Delia, thank you again very much. Good job. Well done. I'll have to speak to someone at your organization. I'm not sure who. But I'm not seeing any more questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Robin. And you can
Okay.
call me tomorrow.
Follow the money. There she goes. There's the money right there. Participants, ladies and gentlemen, the person who was supposed to give a testimonial unfortunately was called away and had to leave rather urgently. So we will not be having the testimonial. So that pretty much ends our presentations. So we'll take questions now. If there are no burning questions, nothing else you want to take offline to either Kadil or, Jennifer already told you how you can find her through a variety of social media outlets, Egerton as well. And there you can find, of course, she's your local broker already offering DMA along with Burrito. That'll be it from us. Okay. So questions, please clarify if USD securities can be accessed on the Canadian markets through DMA.
All right.
I believe there are some cross-listed securities, but
what we do have are some companies that are cross-listed in Canada. And the CBOE, that Neo Exchange, it does have a lot of familiar names on it. So yes, you can trade some of them as long as they are listed, like they have a Canadian, they're registered in Canada as a company. Let me put it that way.
Right. So cross-listed securities on the Canadian stock exchanges. So you can look through the list, Andre, or I guess you're asking for someone else. So there are some US stocks available if they're cross-listed on the Canadian exchanges, and some of them are. Egerton, you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to clarify, just I know that it's not structured yet, but what is the timetable for participating in US markets? I know it's on the agenda, but are we talking a year, 2 years? What is the timetable?
Marlene?
Yeah, we're hoping before the year ends.
Plain and simple. We're halfway through the year already.
We're hoping before the year ends.
Now, would you believe we're halfway through the year already?
Yeah.
June is next week. So yeah, nice Christmas present for someone. Anonymous is encouraging me to open a Canadian account with VMBS. Okay, not exactly a question, but thank you for the advice. And Anonymous is also asking about fees re local broker. We're not really able to do that here. Call Delia, you can find out about her fees. I think it's going to be structured based on how much you invest and that kind of, what features you're signing up for. It's really going to be a case-by-case basis.
All right, Robin, in response to Anonymous and the local Canadian account, even after you do that, you're still going to have to wire the funds to me. So, and
it's an international wire.
That's an
international charges.
Wire. So that may not work out depending on the volume of the trades or the quantity, the dollar value of the trade that you're doing.
And you are settling here, so.
Right.
It is what it is. All right. I'm not seeing a bunch of other questions. I'm not seeing any other questions, actually. So all that remains is for me to thank everyone here. It's great that we still have 142 participants on. I hope you all learned something. I know I did. And, I met a bunch of great people here who are very interested and engaged in ensuring that we here in Jamaica have, access to first world markets that can allow us to diversify our investment portfolios. I want to thank, of course, Marlene for welcoming us. I want to thank Andrea for, invoking the presence of the Almighty. Jennifer, sorry I overlooked you. I don't know how I could have done that and skipped you in the order. Blame it on senility, mold. But thank you very much for your inputs. And we'll have to have a talk later about small cap v large cap. Egerton, Thanks for sharing the knowledge, my brother. Appreciate it. Kadil, well done. Want to, of course, thank Delia as well for, anchoring so beautifully to tell us, what's available here and how to get things done. Want to thank all the organizers and planners of this webinar. I think, well done. All right. Thank you, Ian, for saying excellent program. Want to thank everyone here, all the presenters, all those in front of the camera and behind them. Thank you so much for all you've done. Thank you all for being here. It's been my pleasure to be your master of ceremonies. God bless you all and have a good evening.
Thank you, Robin. Well done.
Thank you, Robin.
Thank you, Robin.